Yo. What's going on? What's going on? Got a lot to talk about. A lot has happened. I probably should have been on here a little bit sooner talking about some of the stuff that's happened, but a lot has happened in the last week, I should say, in boxing, man. You know what I mean? Some craziness has happened, and we got some big announcements, man. Big announcements, man. I'm super excited about it. And we're gonna talk about it. And you know, what I mean, I got a special guest for you guys, and I'm gonna bring him in a second. But before I go ahead and do that, bring that special guest, man, you guys already know. Use discount code CA Power Hour 60 and get 60% off all courses. All right, you already know we got the courses on the website, CoachAnthonyBoxing.com, teaching the sweet science. Got some new stuff coming, so guys, be ready for that. And let me bring in my special guest, man. None other than Fast Eddie Chambers. What's going on, my guy? What's going on?
None.
That hair grow out, bro. I ain't seen you in a minute, man. Look at that hair. What's going on, dude? What's good?
I know one thing. I need to cut that shit off. It's weighing me down. Straight up. It's a little too crazy right now.
You've been grinding. I can tell you've been grinding, man. You look like somebody who's been working, man. How you been, man? What's good? What's new with you?
Nah, man, same stuff though. It's just starting to train, doing a lot of training, and starting to get a lot more clients, a lot more business with that, which is great. And I'm always hustling, you know, trying to.
So what are you doing, guys? So you're actually training people now? That's what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not. You know, I don't get me wrong. If a kid's talented and all that, I'll tell them, hey, you know what I mean? If you want to get better, we'll work, we'll do it. But I'm not interested, honestly, in training champ of the world, honestly. And I'm not saying it to say, well, damn, you want to just, you know, you don't want to put your knowledge to a prospect that's trying to do something with it. It's not that. It's just that I understand the difficulties that comes with the sport. And, you know, disappointment is a part of it. And I'm not trying to be negative about the whole thing, but there's going to be disappointment, and not everybody's going to be champ. As you can see, I never really achieved that. You know, I never had an opportunity to actually hold a title at the time, you know, that I was fighting. So it's just it's a disappointing thing, and I just don't want to go through it. And I know the politics of boxing is really tough, man. It's a real rough sport with politics, and you know, you could be the best fighter in the world. I was one of the best fighters in the world, and still nobody cared nor wanted to have anything to do with me per se, you know. So it's just kind of a rough situation. It's disappointing, but that's life. You know what I mean? Things don't always work out for you in the way you wanted to. I had a pretty good career, you know what I mean? Fought some Hall of Famers. I've been a challenge for titles, you know what I mean? I just never was lucky enough to, you know, crack it when I, you know, beat a guy who had one. So it's unfortunate, and I'm not bitter, not at all. I'm happy that I'm able to have a conversation like this without stuttering and slurring speech. So, you know what I mean? I guess.
I'm glad you said that. Let's lead into that real quick about the slurring of the speech. What did you think about Evander Holyfield? Well, I think I kind of know what you thought about it because you tweeted something about it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go ahead and see what you tweeted in a second, but before we get to what your thoughts were on the fight, what did you think about Evander Holyfield even getting cleared to fight? Because when you say about saying a complete sentence, it seems like Holyfield has had some trouble with speech since he's retired, and he's 59 years old. I don't know how old Belfort was, but I know that he wasn't as old as Evander Holyfield, and he seemed to be in a lot better physical situation, at least mentally and athletically, even though Evander still looks the part. That dude's body, the pause, is phenomenal. You know what I mean? Even at 59 years old. But what was your first thoughts when you found out that that he got cleared? You know what I mean? That he got cleared to fight. And then we'll talk about what your thoughts were on the fight.
To be honest, I wasn't really that shocked because it's money.
Why weren't you shocked?
Because it's money, man. You know this better than anybody, Ant. when it comes to making money, you'll put somebody else in there as long as it ain't you taking the punches and your 59-year-old body. If you was 59, you won't really care too much about it as long as if he looks the part, if he somewhat seems presentable, you know what I mean, and you think you can make some money off it, you don't care about his life. But he should, and the people around him who are close to him should. And in my opinion, he wasn't fit. As good as he might have looked physically, he's been through a lot. Evander's a Hall of Famer. He's a legit top 10, maybe, you know what I mean, top 15 all time heavyweight. You know what I mean? Maybe fighter, who knows? He is a legend, but with legendary accomplishments, there is, you know, the path that he had to come through. He took a lot of punishment, man. He gave out a lot of punishment, no doubt, but he also took a lot. So with that being the case, he's 59 years old. He's almost 60. All that punishment, man, at some point has to add up.
Belfort's 44, man. So that's already a kind of a big gap. I mean, you're talking about what? That's about 15 years. Somewhere in that area, right? I'm not the best at math.
15 years.
It's 15 years. So that's a 15-year, and it's not like you're a 35-year-old versus a 20-year-old, and even that would be considered that age advantage 20-year-old, right? I've seen it before. When you got 20-year-olds fighting, whenever you used to watch HBO back in the day, they would say the age advantage goes to an younger guy than the older guy, even if the guy was experienced.
Always, but that's always been proven wrong in a lot of ways.
Right. It's been proven wrong, but I'm just saying based off of the age.
Oh yeah,
advantage when you're the younger guy. You know what I mean? You know. So my thing is, he got cleared to fight. So now I'm gonna look at your tweet real quick. I wish I would have put it. I wish I would have put it on here. Congrats to Victor Belfort for your success. I'm no hater. All right,
I hope I didn't mess up his name.
You're right. But I can't support your victory over Holyfield. If you're going to fight somebody, why not somebody younger? How about somebody like me? I haven't fought in 5 years. You don't get credit for beating a 59-year-old man. So that's what Eddie Chambers actually put on his Twitter. You see the blue check.
I like how you
know. So you wrote this on your Twitter. What inspired you to write something like this, and why do you feel that you need to call out Victor Belfort at this, you know, under these conditions? Did it touch you personally, emotionally? Like, what happened? Because you usually don't be talking too crazy. So what made you say that?
Well, you look at Holyfield. Holyfield's not what he once was. If Holyfield was 44 and Victor Belfort was 44, what would you think would have happened? What do you think would have happened? All right. So in that situation, celebrating.
I think if they were both 44, we know what would have happened.
If they were both 44, yeah. We know who would have been getting rolled out in the first round. All right. And it's no disrespect to Belfort. He had a great MMA career. You know what I mean? He was a name. He did what he had to do as a fighter there. There's no disrespecting him in that way. But now you're stepping into a ring with a guy who's a legit Hall of Famer, and you're like, hey man, I just did something special. It's like, yo, you just beat a 59-year-old dude. Just like, he didn't look like it, but like he was one step from being in a walker. But the reality is he's not talking like he should. He's not the Evander that we all know at this point in his life. So I think it's a little unfair to think, oh, okay, we got this 44-year-old, though that's aged. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that he's super young, but this guy who's still pretty much in shape, still doing his thing, still training, still living a life. Not saying Evander wasn't, but Evander's 59 years old. Think about that for a second. 59, 60 years old he'll be next year.
You know what's crazy? There was people who thought he was gonna win.
Listen, this is what I'm saying. I didn't know. I didn't put my name out there. I didn't have any predictions on it because I'm like, he's 59. And I've seen him like kind of recently hitting pads. It wasn't like Mike Tyson when he was hitting pads and making them moves and all of that stuff. It didn't look like that.
No,
you understand what I'm saying?
Even if he was to fight Mike Tyson right now, I'd be concerned. I'd be like, that's not a fair fight, Tyson. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy to say that because they're around the same age and they fought each other, but obviously one man aged better than the other.
And it's a different, and people, you would think that, Tyson's obviously the more popular. Obviously, he's supremely popular. He's one of the biggest names of all time. But Holyfield arguably had a better career, even though Tyson had unified at one point. But I felt like the division wasn't as strong as it was when Holyfield started to reign. You know what I mean? So and then obviously Holyfield beat Tyson. So you kind of look at that. But it's just, to me, at this point in his life, I would have not chosen to fight. I mean, I don't know if he needs it. It's difficult when you're a top level guy.
He made $5 million.
Look, I can't argue with that though. If somebody asked me,
that's the only thing that made me clear, because I look at it like this: if I'm 59 years old, right? I don't know how many years I got left on this earth. I hope to God I could live till I'm 59, and I hope that I could live much longer than that. But if I'm at 59 years old, I'm pretty sure I am no longer worried about myself as much. I am more concerned about my children, my grandchildren, my family after me, right? And at 59, if I have an opportunity to make $5 million and then write my will out and give that to my son, my daughter, my grandchild, whatever, I think I'm willing to make that investment for my family to be able to live a better life as they grow up. They don't have to struggle like I may have had to struggle. So from that regard, I respect and understand why he might have did it as a sacrificial lamb to himself for his own personal family, if that's the reason he did it. Not right. I hope that's why he did it. Maybe he wants to enjoy his last 20, 30 years on earth and he wants to fly on a jet and do whatever he wants. Who knows what the real reason is? But at the end of the day, for boxing, it's kind of hurtful to see that, because I didn't even like when I saw Roy Jones Jr. getting knocked out, in his
multiple times,
in his early 40s, late 30s, early 40s. That was hurting me. I'm like, man, Roy Jones, man, hang it up, let alone if Roy Jones is fighting at 59 years old against younger, stronger men who can possibly kill you,
Think about Roy Jones. Roy Jones might have been one of the, if not one of if not the greatest one of ever to lace him up. And to see him at this point in his career, well, not at this point, but even, previous years when he was young, like slightly younger, but getting knocked out by guys that couldn't even carry his jockstrap in a suitcase, it's just disrespectful to yourself. You know what I'm saying? At some point, it's like, look, if I need money, let me find another way to get it. Because at this point, I don't think it's good for not only my legacy, but for my head, for my body. You know what I mean? Be out here getting knocked out regularly by these dudes that wouldn't even be able to spar with me back in the day. You understand what I'm saying?
I think that's the hardest thing for a real fighter to really ever admit to, understand. Because listen, if you talk to James Toney right now, he'll tell you that he can beat a top 10 guy. You know what I mean? And James Toney, obviously, to me, is in the same similar condition of the Holyfield. I know personal people here in the Philadelphia area that were ex-pros that if you talk to them about fighting, they'll talk to you like, man, I'll whoop his ass. And you're like, man, in your back of your mind, you're saying to yourself, dude, you're done. Like, you know what I mean? But in their mind, that's the last thing to go for a fighter, is what they believe they can do. And I think you know that as well. You know what I mean? Guys, listen, I say this all the time. I could take a man off the street who's never been in a fight before, and he gonna tell me how he could whoop somebody's ass.
Of course.
And I'm like, well, who have you fought? Never been in a street fight. Never fought in kindergarten. Never fought in junior high school in the park. Never fucking put on a pair of boxing gloves. But he'll tell you confidently on how he could beat somebody up. So it's just, as men, we have that in us. And then imagine being a 2-division world champion who beat, arguably the baddest man in the planet in his heyday. Amanda Holyfield, he's never gonna believe somebody could whoop his ass, even at 59 under these conditions. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So
100% right. And
where are you at with all this? Because I see you make the call out. You've been laying low. You haven't been posting much. You haven't been talking much. You haven't been calling nobody out. You know, obviously I ain't been working with you, so I know you're not boxing at the moment. Where do you put yourself into now? You have a celebrity boxing situation where, okay, you're 39 years old. Maybe it might be over for Eddie Chambers to get a big fight. I think at this point, nobody wants to fight you. You're high risk, low reward. And if they did want to fight you, they might want to wait you out a little bit longer and see how, if they can have you, get, old overnight, like they say. So let's just say that's the case. Are you interested in partaking in some of this, how do you say that word? With a
theatrical.
Yeah, I can't even say the word. Events that are happening now. You got the Jake Pauls and everybody of the world, and we all know that everybody wants to fight those guys, right? That's the lottery ticket right now. So I wouldn't even go that route unless you're just happy to get lucky. And I'm pretty sure if they watch one video of you, they're not gonna ever want to fight you, especially when they see that you still are young, fresh. You still have to move very well.
That's not
so where do you fit into this, and what are you willing to do? Or are you willing to do some of this stuff? Or talk to me real quick.
Well, I would definitely be willing. It's just, for me, it's just boxing. You know what I mean? Whether it be an exhibition, be an actual fight. You know what I mean? I'm interested in this, and it's not just for a quick cash grab. That's not why. It's just, I want to give, because I'm seeing a lot of fighters, fighting MMA fighters, like a lot of the boxers fighting MMA fighters, and MMA fighters are getting, they're doing well, and I think some of, like, even with the whole Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley thing, and it could be MMA fighters getting in with boxers, and then you see YouTubers now who are actually supposed to be boxers fighting MMA fight, and it's just like a whole crazy mix of crap. I'm not saying it's bullshit, but it's exciting.
A lot of people don't like that stuff, and trust me, I understand. But from a business standpoint and from a opportunity standpoint, I say
awesome. It's an awesome opportunity.
This could be a great thing. This could be a great lane for a guy like you, because
looking at
Beltfort, maybe these guys might see that you haven't fought since 2015. Maybe one of these guys might say, Eddie, hasn't really fought a top guy since what, 2013 or something, or 12. Hey man, maybe now's the time to get him. It's literally 2021. Like, how many years has it been since you fought Klitschko?
It's been, oh my God, it's been 11 years.
11 years since you fought Klitschko. So now might be the time that these guys might want to start looking at you. Maybe now they feel, what, Eddie Chambers, he's not training, he's not active. Maybe now's the time. I would love to see you get one of those kind of opportunities. Maybe an MMA fighter, maybe a YouTuber, maybe another older boxer. If there was an older boxer that you would be willing to fight, who do you think it would be? Somebody in their 40s, late 30s. Maybe you can get a fight with a boxer who's in the same limbo situation like you.
Oh no, I would definitely be up for that. That's awesome. That's be another awesome thing. I wouldn't feel like I'm taking advantage of, somebody who's not really of the in the sport or whatever, which I wouldn't mind fighting MMA. Honestly, for me, I'm up for, I don't want to say anything with that. I don't want to seem like I'm desperate, but yeah, because I'm definitely not. I'm just as fine not doing this at all. However, it's an interesting thing. The narrative makes sense for, when you see all of these different guys mixing, and it, people are interested in it. It looks fun. It's more boxing. The core part of boxing can be exciting. You understand what I'm saying? And it's great. When you add these other elements and people coming from different sports and different walks of life, and they have followings in different places, it puts more eyes on boxing. Absolutely. So as bad as this may seem to the hardcores, I implore y'all to listen. It's a very, very good thing for us, because us as fighters, if you look at me, and I'm gonna say it out loud, I don't give a shit. At this point, in my entire career, I was grossed the most money that I've ever had in one fight, and I was fighting Vladimir Klitschko. That was 1.5. I didn't even close to touch it at any other point in my career. Look at these guys. Now, I was fighting for 4 titles that night. 4 titles. That means everything. That means if I beat Vladimir Klitschko that night, I am the unified heavyweight champion of the world. I was getting 1.5. There are guys out here now that ain't never put a pair of gloves on in a ring in an actual prize fight, making almost that amount of money in one night, and never had no body of work, didn't fight no amateur fights, didn't do anything not even a fraction of what I've done in half of my career, and they're making more money than me.
It's crazy, and I actually had this conversation with you off the phone, and then of course we got to move on and talk about some of these other things that happen. But I was talking to people. I was talking to you, and I actually told you how, like, when we was in LA, and we bumped into Andre Ward, and Andre Ward actually came to you. Now, Andre Ward, I'm sure everybody in this chat right now, anybody who watches this after, is probably considered one of the GOATs, right? Hands down, one of the GOATs. I mean, you got to put him up there. You got to put him up there with any top super middleweight, in history, because he never lost as a pro. He was a world champion. He worked his way, and he didn't lose an amateur fight since he was 12. He's a GOAT. And he walked up to you and told you, Eddie Chambers, I'm a big fan. I don't understand how you did what you've done in your career. And basically complimenting you for being a guy fighting guys 30 pounds, 40 pounds overweight, weighing more than you, fighting guys 6 inches paws bigger than you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you were doing stuff that, like, for instance, I posted something about Canelo and Floyd, right? So my personal opinion, Floyd was just better than Canelo, period. You got the Canelo fans out there who are going to say, oh, he was young. Oh, there was a 2-pound catch weight and all this stuff. And I say to myself, 2-pound catch weight. Let me introduce you to my good friend Eddie Chambers, who fought guys 30 pounds and 6 inches taller and won. You know what I'm saying? And these guys, they want to use all these excuses, in these other weight classes. And I don't really want to get into that, but it just shows, like, the people who really know you in this game know the deal. The people who really know you in this game know the deal. There's a lot of people in this game that really just don't know. You know what I mean? Behind the scenes, what you've done, who you beat up in the gym. Some of your favorite fighters, some of these guys' favorite fighters, you beat them up in the gym and they're asking you for pointers and tips.
Hey, look, you're not wrong.
You know what I mean?
You're not wrong.
So that's what these guys don't really understand about you, Eddie. You're an anomaly because you're so humble, low key, and they don't really realize, like, your favorite fighter is hitting Eddie up privately asking for tips. But listen, let's go ahead and move on. We got the big fight, right? We got the big fight coming up. We got Sean Porter fighting Terence Crawford. Now, that's a big fight. I mean, that's the fight that I think that, I wouldn't say the fight we needed, but a good fight for Terence Crawford. I mean, Crawford has been inactive for quite some time, and they're putting a legitimate test in front of him. Now, I don't know about Sean Porter at this stage. I feel like his best fights might be behind him. But I think they're the same age, if I'm not mistaken. Which is weird to me because it feels like Sean Porter is older, but in reality,
it's the other way around. But listen, different fighters.
How do you feel about this fight? Give me your predictions, and how do you see it playing out?
I'm gonna say it like this: Sean Porter is a tough fight, pretty much for anybody. There's very few fighters that are gonna get in there, and maybe there might not be any. That'll get in there and actually really look good against Sean Porter. Sean Porter has a style that is it's a puzzle. It's a real puzzle, and the reason is because he don't care about looking good. He don't care. He is looking for that win. He ain't worried about how impressive he looks that night as long as he get the victory. I respect it. It may not be the prettiest way to get shit done.
But I've been seeing Sean Porter fight technical also.
No, he has the ability.
A lot of guys are like forgetting that he actually can box.
No,
he's got a reputation for being a come forward, ugly fighter. I think his last performance, he boxed beautifully.
Of course. But listen, you got to remember, And I'm not saying that the guy he boxed the last time. I can't remember exactly who it was. It wasn't.
I forget who it was too, but I remember saying to myself, "Wow, he's pretty boxing, pretty nice." You know, like it looked like a guy who was using his jab, utilizing lateral movement, ring generalship. You know, he's actually boxing.
Right, which he has that in his bag. But when you talk about getting in there with a Terence Crawford or any of these slick boxing top 5, top 1 or 2 guys who can really box, you got to go Sean Porter. You gotta make it ugly.
Yeah, I agree with. I don't think that is a good idea.
Exactly. So it's like you about to get in there with Terence Crawford. What you gonna do? You gonna try to be pretty and box it so he can just tattoo you all night? No, you gonna get in there and be like, man, I ain't worried about nothing about looking good.
He actually fought a gentleman by the name of Sebastian Formella, who was 22-0.
Mm-hmm.
He got a split decision victory against Yordonis Ugas, who just beat Pacquiao. He beat Danny Garcia. Mm-hmm. He got that real close fight with Keith Thurman.
Mm-hmm.
And he is fighting Terence Crawford. Now, Terence Crawford, if I take a look at his recent fights, he TKO'd Kell Brook.
Mm-hmm.
He fought another gentleman by the name of, I can't even pronounce his name, man. Iguijus Kava something. He was 21-0. He TKO'd him. You know who he was?
I think so. I think I know. I don't know if I said his name right.
He TKO'd Amir Khan. He TKO'd Jose Benavidez. Oh, no. Yeah, Benavidez. He TKO'd Jeff Horn. He knocked out Julius Ndongo.
Mm-hmm.
He TKO'd John Molina Jr.
Yeah.
TKO, he got a victory with Victor Postal. He fought Hank Lundy, TKO Hank Lundy. I was in the corner for that. He TKO'd Thomas Delorme.
Mm-hmm.
TKO'd Yuriokis Gamboa. He's TKOing and knocking out a lot of good guys. He is definitely a guy who can crack.
He's separating himself too. His resume, though, his resume is starting to climb. A lot of people was kind of I don't know, he's great. He's talented. We see it. He's beating guys, but they didn't give him a whole lot of credit with the Kell Brook thing because Kell Brook had fought Triple G and he was already damaged. Then he fought what's my man? Earl Spence. And then after Earl Spence, now he fights.
Yeah, you know what? I do agree with that. I do agree with that, though. I feel like he didn't get a damaged goods Kell Brook.
That's true. So with that being said,
without taking credit from Terence Crawford, but the truth of the fact of the matter is he was damaged goods.
But I will say this: in those first couple rounds, Kell Brook was giving him some work a little bit. He wasn't making that shit easy.
But so does everybody. So was Hank Lundy.
But Hank Lundy, see, people not gonna give it respect. Hank Lundy can fight though.
Hank Lundy can fight his ass off. People don't really.
These dudes ain't no bums. Hank can fight. Hank got skills. Hank was switching. If Hank could have kept that going on for a few more rounds, who knows where to fight? Now, granted, I feel like eventually Terence would have got to the point where he was.
The fact of the matter is, Hank Lundy should have never been fighting at that weight. He's really a 135-pounder, 135-pounder, but he chased the money. And he was so good. He was so good at 135 that he figured he can campaign at 140. But that 5 pounds made a difference for him. I don't know what it is about the little guys, but those 5 to 10 pounds are way different than a guy like you.
You know why? It's first of all, it's different now. People are not used to those kinds of differences now, like they were back in the day. Back in the day, there was 7 weight classes and shit like that. There's no way. That nowadays you can't get around like that. You know what I mean? Think about this. Light heavyweight was light heavyweight. The next weight class up was heavyweight. If you were 176, you were a heavyweight. You understand what I'm saying? That's different. There wasn't no 168. It was 175, 160 was the next one down. It wasn't no 154. It was 147 after 160. There was no 140. It was 135. Or 32, whatever it was at the time. 26. You know what I mean? That's it. There wasn't no other weight classes. So back then, people were different than they are now. testosterone and all that was way crazier back then than it is now. We are more athletic.
Into the next thing, because we got to talk about some of this testosterone with Valdez.
Did I do that on purpose?
In the team. We're gonna talk about some testosterone, guys. So y'all might want to stick around. But all right. So let's go back to the situation. Who do you have winning this fight, and how does it play out? Are we looking at a stoppage? Are we looking at a decision? Are we looking at a spectacular performance from if we're going to give a spectacular performance, I think we're going to actually, no, we can't edge that either way, because a spectacular performance can be an aggressive performance also. Yep. So how do you see this fight playing out? It's a very interesting fight.
It is, but I still see it going one way. I see Sean Porter obviously taking the fight to him. I do see him taking the fight to him. But do you think he's going to be wary of Crawford's power? Because we do know that Crawford's been knocking people out. Yeah. And we do know that he has an aura, right? Whenever you got the guy who has been knocking out everybody and he's got skills and he's got a reputation for being arguably the best fighter next to Canelo at the moment, do you think Sean Porter's going to try a different approach, considering that he knows what he's up against and he knows what they're expecting? Or do you think he says, man, I got way too much experience to play with this boy, I'm going to go in there and do what I do? Which one? I honestly think that he's not going to take any chances. And if he sits on the outside trying to figure it out, that's going to be the biggest mistake he can make. I think he has to be Sean Porter. I think he has to do what he does best to give him the best shot at winning the fight. Simple as that. You can't go in there like, I've been working on this, and then try to work on it in a top level fight. They're like, yo, don't get me wrong. If that's been a part of your game in 3 fights and you fighting guys in the high level, then that's different. Then you can try to keep that a part of your game and go in at Terence different. But the reality is, yeah, you were boxing, but look how close some of these fights were. You were about to fight, if not the best one of. So you can't go in there half-stepping or like not sure or trying this or trying that. You got to go in with a plan. If the plan doesn't work, you got to be able to make an adjustment, a slight adjustment. But you got to go in and be yourself. The way I see it is, I see I see Sean going in there, doing what he does, and making it tough on him early. The way that Crawford adjusts will determine the fight. My thing is, I think Crawford obviously is Crawford's gonna actually try to bang with him a little bit, in my opinion. Because Crawford he got that attitude, like, I'm not backing off, nigga. We going. That's how we do. And he proves it, man. You see what he was doing in fight. It don't matter who he's fighting. He's fighting with him. He'll try to box you a little bit here and there, but if it's a fight, he's willing to fight. And I would hope for him that he's a little bit smarter in that with Sean, because Sean is.
I mean, if Sean Porter puts that kind of pressure, I don't know why I got the funny feeling he's going to get stopped for the first time.
I was going to say that.
I think that Sean Porter might get stopped in this fight, and the only reason I say that is for exactly what you just said. He's going to overpressure, and he's going to get stopped. If he tries to box on the outside, like you said, I think it's a big mistake. I don't think that does him any good. Plus, Terence Crawford can switch, which makes it a very interesting situation, because you don't know what approach Terence is going to take. But my thing is, if Sean Porter is able to handle the power, does he get so far ahead on the cards by being the more active guy that now Crawford has to play catch up? Because we've seen Crawford in most of his big fights lose a couple of the beginning rounds, right? He's a slow starter. He normally loses round 1, round 2. He knocked out, I think, Kell Brook in round 3, but typically the first 3 to 4 rounds, Crawford's already behind. With a guy like Sean Porter, if he falls behind 4 rounds and he can't get Porter out of there, I mean, we're talking about a very close fight now, because even if he starts to catch up, you're already down 3 or 4 rounds. So now you got to do your concentration level has to be even more difficult because you got to stay focused for the next 6 to 8 rounds.
And you got to, and it is hard. And I can tell you from experience, when you're down and you feel like you might be down, it's hard sometimes to try to pick that stuff up to the next level. It's hard because now you figure out, like, damn, what do I need to do? And then even if your corner giving you good advice and you're going in and some of the things that they're telling you are working, but it's like you still want to do the things that you're comfortable doing. You understand what I'm saying? And if those things that you're comfortable doing aren't really working, you got to figure out an adjustment. And it's like, how do I adjust and pick it up? Like, what do I do? You know what I mean? You start second guessing, you start worrying, and then you're like, damn, I'm supposed to be Terence Crawford. I'm not supposed to be struggling. I'm supposed to be able to beat this dude easy. And blah, blah, blah. It ain't like that. You start, your brain starts eating at itself. You know what I mean? Your body starts to say, oh man, then you start, am I tired? Then you work, all these things are going through your mind when you got this dragon coming at you. You understand what I'm saying? And you have to figure it out. That's why you gotta look at Floyd as one of the GOATs, man, because this dude was adjusting on the fly all the time. You know what I'm saying? So you got all this stuff in your mind. You got Maidana, let's use the Maidana coming at you, biting your gloves, swinging these shots, hitting you in the cup, hitting you in the back of the head, hitting you on the knee. And you like, how the fuck am I going to do? What is? You got to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at Terence, you better be ready to figure this shit out, because this dude ain't gonna be waiting for you, nigga. He gonna be coming at you, guns blazing, and you got to be prepared. And if you're not prepared to make an adjustment or to do something special that night, he might have your titles and your spot.
All right, so I feel like we've gotten nowhere as far as your prediction.
Who are
you picking to win this fight, dude?
I'm thinking I like Sean, but I'm thinking he'll make the adjustment, and I'm thinking it. 9 times out of 10 in my mind, I'm looking at Terence Crawford, just unanimous decision. But if he gets too crazy and maybe you don't see something coming, he can't get caught.
Oh, hold on, you just picked Sean by unanimous decision?
No. Crawford.
Okay.
I'm thinking that he figures it out. I'm thinking he figures it out. If he's great, which I feel like he's great, he figures it out. It ain't gonna be easy, especially the first 5-6 rounds. He's gonna be dealing with a lot of hell. But I feel like he's gonna start landing some shots. He's gonna start catching him coming in. You know, because he has the balls, pause, to do it. That's why I said pause. He has because a lot of times guys aren't willing to put themselves out there to get hurt, get caught themselves. So I think he has the heart enough to do it. And I think he may end up catching him coming in a couple times, get some of them, and he gonna maybe steal a few rounds, even some early rounds possibly, just because of the sheer cleanliness of the punches he's landing. So I'm looking at Terence winning by unanimous decision, but not super wide, because you know how busy Sean will be on his ass pause. But he's gonna be 16, 12, 15, 13, maybe, in my opinion, possibly. You know what I mean? And that's because Sean gonna be fighting for that spot, I feel like. But there is the other little 1% or 2%, I'll say 10% that he catches Sean coming in and maybe good nights. But that's it. And I think that's late.
Yeah, man. I gotta say this is a fight that I just feel like the style matchup favors Crawford. I feel like even though Sean Porter is Sean Porter, Hall of Famer in his own right, great fighter, man. I highly respect Sean Porter. I think he's, and if he won the fight by some means, wouldn't be surprised.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised, because he's that good. He's that good. Sean Porter is that good of a fighter. But I just think stylistically,
it's a tough fight.
That he is going to run into counter punches that are going to change the tide of the fight. And I think that once he feels that power that Crawford, I believe, really does have, I really believe Crawford is hitting the way it seems. I think that, either he's going to get hurt, or something's going to happen to where the adjustment is going to be easier for Crawford to make once Sean Porter starts to either gets hesitant or starts to make little mistakes, because now he has to worry about that power. So interesting fight. But if I have to put the house on it, I'm putting my money on Terence Crawford. and that's it. So, okay, we got to talk about something that I probably should have talked about first because it's what happened before everything. We got Oscar Valdez. Now, he just fought over the weekend. Did you see the fight?
No, I didn't see it. I missed it.
Okay. Well, I watched the fight. I didn't score the fight because I was actually doing something as the fight was playing. But it seemed like every time I watched any portion of the fight, it looked like he was losing the fight. Like I felt that his opponent, which is hard for me to pronounce his name, he's a Brazilian guy, but he looked really, really good. He was doing some real good defensive stuff. You know, you could tell that he's rough around the edges as far as doing some of the slick stuff that we like to do, like shoulder rolling and bending at the waist. But he was an Olympian. He's good amateur. And I felt that he won the fight. I thought that he did enough to win the fight based off what I was looking at. Maybe there was something that slipped between the rounds and this, that. But they actually scored it widely for Oscar Valdez. That's the first thing. The second thing is Oscar Valdez has some issues now where they're saying that he was using a banned substance and then they allowed him to fight anyway. And we already know that the Canelo team, there has been some allegations about Canelo and different things like that. So what are your thoughts on that whole team over there? Do you think that these guys are doing, anything illegal as far as the rules go in boxing? And do you think that's played into the success of these guys? And what do you think should be done about it if you do?
To be honest, man, PEDs are in the sport. They're in there. You know what I mean? How many people you think taking it right now that ain't been caught yet? Or have been caught and they still doing it and just got away with it again and again and again?
So at this
I'm not. Say it again?
I was going to say at this point, I actually put a post up and I took it down because I didn't want to offend any of the fighters because I'm actually friends with a couple of fighters on the post. But it was a post of Oscar Valdez and it was like Roy Jones, Floyd Mayweather, Tarver, James Toney, and it was like welcome to the club basically because all these guys apparently got popped at one point or another or been accused for steroids. So at this point, do you think that they should just legalize steroids in boxing? Because now if everybody's taking it, it's an even playing field, right? Because if you talk to certain people, that know about steroids, I don't know nothing about steroids. I'm very uneducated when it comes to steroids, guys. I'm sorry, that's where my education is limited at the moment. So I don't know which one does what or this, that, or the other. I don't even pay attention to it. But if you talk to people in the regular fitness gym, because I talk to people in the fitness gym, they're in their 40s and they take, some sort of a testosterone to help them with testosterone. And you got younger guys taking it and they tell you all the benefits of it. And they tell you if taken within reason, that is actually not a terrible thing to do. Overseas is legal in a lot of places. Here in the United States, it's very frowned upon here. Yeah. You think they should just legalize it, or do you just say there's no place for that in boxing? Get that shit out of here. That's not how it should be. What are your thoughts on that the steroid situation and banned substances? Because not everything's steroids, right? There are other things, and then everybody just assumes it's steroids.
Right. Well, that's the thing. You know what I mean? If it's like, it's a banned substance, we need to have some clarification on what banned substances and what we're talking about. If it's a banned substance, but it's nothing that's going to gain an advantage one way or the other, you should be able to just dismiss it and then put it on a list of things that would be considered a banned substance, but is okay, so it's no longer a banned substance. Because there's so many different little things that you can take, and it's legitimately you could take something that's an over-the-counter drug and it'll come up as a banned substance just because of something that's involved is in it. You understand? Because there's so many different medications that have so many different things in it. We don't even know what the hell we're taking half the time, and that's why I don't like taking medications. But when we're talking about actual steroids and things that are going to gain you an advantage, I feel like in a situation when I'm fighting or playing ball or running or whatever the hell I'm doing, it's when it's in competition. I want to be able to rely on myself and what my natural ability is, what my ceiling can be as me, the human, not the enhanced human. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if you're taking these drugs to improve your performance, do you truly know what you would be without them? Would you be enough of a man to beat another man if you didn't have that? You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like it's all down to you. Do you want that to be your legacy? Do you want to say, okay, well, I'm the best fighter because I had the best pharmacy behind me? You know what I'm saying? Or do you want to say I'm the best fighter because I was the best goddamn fighter and nobody could beat me? And it was me. I ain't have to take nothing to be the best. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I would so much rather be able to say that the latter. I was the best. I'm the motherfucking man. Nobody could beat me. And I don't care if they was taking drugs or not. I'm the best. My skills were the best. My physical ability was the best. That's what I like. That's what I want to do. When people want to offer you shit and it's like, damn, that would be some smooth stuff, man. I'd love to have that extra little bit of testosterone so I can punch harder, run faster, jump higher, do all that stuff. That's cool. But I want to be able to rely on me when it comes down to it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have anything that I need to turn me into that beast. I want to be able to turn myself into it. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of these guys, they lose sight of that. You get into the sport because you want to be the best. You want to be the best. You don't want to have something that you take that makes you the best just because the other person don't have it. That shit ain't fair. That's not a level playing field, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? But then you say, okay, well, then just give it to everybody. What if I don't want that shit? I'm clean, man. I want my body to be clean. I don't want to have no complications when I'm done. And then I don't want to be in there with a motherfucker that's throwing punches twice as hard as he normally would throw it just because he wanted to have a little bit of an advantage. It's not fair either.
So what do you think needs to happen? Because, you know, like, how does this get fixed, man? Boxing's getting to a point now where it's like, if you're not in the inn, you're out. You know, it's like,
it's getting like other sports.
How do you feel about Canelo? Do you think, Canelo is starting to get a lot of shade by the boxing community? I put a post up about Canelo, and it seems like more and more professional boxers, more and more professional trainers, more and more fans are looking at him differently, even though he's not even Oscar Valdez, but we're paying attention to that camp. You know, we're looking at Ryan Garcia out of nowhere build up all these freaking muscles when we seen him shortly before the Canelo team looking pretty frail. We see Andy Ruiz all of a sudden like transform his body after his fight, which could have been all through hard work. But they're all part of the same team, and it just seems funny. So right now, if you were a trainer or somebody and you were fighting somebody out of that camp, what are your thoughts? What are you telling your fighter? What are you saying? Like, what are you thinking at this point? You know what I mean?
I'm looking at, man, like, we got to find a way to test these dudes, man. Make sure they stay, everything's on the up and up. Because, like, look, it's not just one guy that is being looked at. There's been multiple different things that you look at when you see different fighters, and you know, then you hear excuses about the Mexican meat pause. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny, but the reality is, man, it starts to throw, like you said, it throws that dark cloud over them, and it's like, what are they doing over there that the rest of the boxing community is not able to do? They got a lot of success going on over there. You know what I'm saying? Which is a great thing, and I'm not throwing shade based on their success. I'm happy for him. I like Canelo as a fighter. He's talented. One of my favorites to watch.
No, he has a beautiful skill set. You know, people think that I don't like Canelo because I'll post whatever's going on in boxing. It just so happens, or I'll post Floyd Mayweather, who dominated Canelo, and they'll be like, "Oh, you just don't like Canelo."
No, I ain't got nothing to do.
Behind the scenes have talked about how much we like how he fights.
Yeah, I love the way
one of our favorite fighters.
Low key
about skill set.
Listen, low key, he's one of my favorites to watch right now, guaranteed. Like, if there's a Canelo fight,
skill set, the things that he does,
100%. I ain't got nothing against Canelo.
If you're cheating,
it is what it is.
Yeah,
the duck, call the damn thing a duck. That's really what it is. I'm not trying to say that he is. I don't know. The fact is, there's a cloud over him. I like Andy Ruiz a lot.
Yeah, but if he's taking something,
yeah, it's like, yo, we get an advantage. Exactly. So ain't nothing wrong with being honest about a situation. That's how we supposed to be. We're supposed to be honest. We're supposed to tell the truth. If we're ambassadors of the sport, we want to see the sport succeed. We want to see the sport go to heights that it's never been before. That's why this YouTube thing and this YouTuber thing is a little bit of an enigma, but it's at the same time, it's an excitement for us. It's drawing more people to our sport. So just like the good, the bad too. This steroid thing, don't get me wrong, it's in all sports. Everyone's trying to get an edge, a little step ahead. Some people who may not be great, they're trying to take that little bit of extra so they can now become great. And I understand it. But if it's an unfair advantage, and then not everybody else can do it legally, and it's not you, it's your drug.
I'm not gonna ask you to say any names, Eddie. Mm-hmm. Have you ever known a fighter in the sport that's taken steroids and has been open to you about it? Like, hey, Eddie, yeah, I take it, or you know what I mean? Or you've seen them inject themselves or anything? You're like, whoa, bro, what are you doing?
I wouldn't say I've seen them. I wouldn't say they've actually told me necessarily, but I know there's telltale signs of guys. Man, there's guys that I fought that was probably on. Come on, like I was told once by a credible source that 85, maybe 90% of the top dudes at least was taking something.
Now, what do you consider a top dude? Because, like, for instance, hold on. Just for instance, I work with, Tevin Farmer. I've worked with, who else? Hank Lundy. I worked with you. I've worked with the outlaw Eric Hunter. All of you guys have fought in world title fights. All of you guys.
All of them.
With everybody but you in a world title fight that I just mentioned. Now, I've never seen anybody at that level work with steroids. So is there like another level? If you're saying
no, that level
guys, then what level are we talking about? Because Tevin Farmer was a world champion and defended it 6 times and never took steroids.
Let me tell you.
I attest to that because I'm in camp with him.
No.
So what level are we talking about?
Not every single person, but we talk about that level right there. That level right there.
Even that level. Or is it just the superstar level like the Canelos and the Pacquiao level?
Well, those guys, don't get me wrong.
Those guys are one level over, right? Like those are the elites of the elites. The Klitschko's, right? You fought the elite when you fought Klitschko.
No doubt. And yes, they all have the ability and the knowledge base to do it and make sure that nothing would be crazy. Trust me, I know what you're saying. But even a level below that, they looking for that advantage, bro. Don't get it confused. These dudes aren't broke. A lot of them. If you're boxing and that's all you're doing for your career, and you're making out,
Big Baby got popped.
Exactly. A lot of these guys,
everyone in his career, man, we haven't seen him ever fight again.
But that's what I'm saying. Look at him, right? And it's like he's already big. You know what I mean? He's already, that's what we call it, Big Baby, right? Pause. He's already a big guy. Pause. In stature. Okay. But and
he's a very cool person. I've hung out with Big Baby.
I ain't got a bad word to say.
No shade at Big Baby.
No. It's just showing you how things are when you're up. Maybe at the level that those other guys that we're talking about, that other next level, it's the masking agents, the things that hide the stuff is just better. The sophistication of it is better at that level than the level below.
What's his name? I actually posted this too. See, I post stuff and then I'll take it down. Let me look in my archive. I like to take it down because I like to keep my page more about what I'm doing and talking about people. But I do talk about what's going on for a short period of time. And Jamal Herring, Educate yourself for a moment. Diuretic banned substances are commonly used to flush out all other banned substances, not just cutting water weight. As a fellow champion, I respect Valdez, but this is hard to ignore. So I guess Valdez got hit with some sort of a diuretic, which is the same thing I believe Canelo got hit with. So if these guys are taking some sort of a diuretic
to flush it out,
trying to flush it out and hide whatever you're talking about.
Yes, sir. So when I say it's
this is all speculation, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if these are facts. I know about just as much as you guys know who are in this chat right now. So I'm not speaking from a factual standpoint. This is all perceived, what we're seeing.
That's right. And then, but it's just like I said, it's those things at that level that hide what your true intentions are, that are probably when you say, okay, how come those guys are so much better? You know what I mean? Some of it is just work. They just worked harder. They just got better, just more talented. But there's other little things when you talk about separating the elites from the elite. You know what I'm saying? From the very top. There's very little small things, style matchups, all these little things play a part. Then it's like, if he got a bad style matchup, now we need something else. How are we going to beat this guy in this kind of a situation? It's just going to be hard, man. When I look at the style matchup and I say, damn, I was a big Shane Mosley fan. And it hurt me to see Vernon Forrest just dominate him, even though I like Vernon. I met Vernon, and I never even met Shane. I met Vernon, and Vernon was the coolest dude, one of the tallest, biggest paws welterweights I ever seen.
You spar Vernon? He used to train in the gym that I trained out of in Florida when he used to come to Florida to work out.
No, I never sparred him. He was watching me spar. I was like, damn, you be kicking them. I know you be kicking all them boys' asses, man. Because I was shutting dudes down when I was down there at Buddy's camp. But he was like, man, and he was mad cool, but he wasn't, getting ready for a fight or nothing at the time. This dude was my size. No bullshit. 100% my size. Same height, same weight. Damn near almost the same weight. He's probably like 190.
If you were going to spar him, you would have to take him serious as you were boxing your height. Your division.
He's a big dude, pause. He's comparable in size to me. I'd be sparring a dude my size, basically. Obviously, I'll probably be off 15, 20 pounds heavier, being an actual heavyweight. But shoot, he was probably like 190, 185, 190. Like scary. I'm like, oh, this dude fought Shane Mosley. I know if I walked up to Shane, I'd be looking at Shane like, I don't know how you fought that boy. There's no way. Because guaranteed when he, I got down to 147, he didn't look like that. He probably looked like a stick figure. But, it's just like seeing him in person, completely comfortable. This was a bigger guy, pause. So it's like, man, like I don't know, man. I was a huge fan, and to see the style matchup between them two and how it played out, it just hurt me to see how he just dominated him. And then I looked at that and I'm like, how could you overcome something like that? You know what I mean? What could you do to overcome the fact that he was so much taller, bigger, and just the style of it just wasn't good for you? Could you do something to figure it out? Could you impose your will? Could you take something to make you deal with what he had? And I'm like, oh shit, maybe them steroids, maybe you pump that something in your butt paws or in your arm or wherever you put it. Pause. And then you jump in there, and you all of a sudden you go from being Shane Mosley 1.0 to fucking 5.0. And you just,
but you know what's sad? You know what's sad is that when you find that out, it kind of erases a lot of your accomplishments.
Hurts, don't it?
I mean, it kind of erases a lot of your accomplishments. But then I feel like also only for the short term, because for instance, all those guys in that picture that I posted, Roy Jones, James Toney, all those guys are considered the greats. Nobody really remembers that they took steroids. Only at that particular time is when we remember they took steroids. Like I forgot that Shane Mosley took steroids. If you was to bring up Shane Mosley, I would remember him as a great fighter, a great champion, until you remind me that he got popped. Then he got popped. Remind me that Roy Jones, got allegedly, acquisitions or whatever. I don't know. I don't remember. James Toney, same thing. So it seems like in the present it ruins your legacy, but then later on people forget. And then if you were cheating the whole time, people won't remember that you were cheating. It's kind of like when people go to Box Rec, right? And it's crazy to me because a lot of the time we'll have boxing debates and we'll pull up Box Rec. Well, let's see who he fought. And we'll look up a W. Oh, well, he beat him. Yep. Not remembering that guy actually got robbed. And that guy actually lost the fight. But since it says W on Box Rec, you don't remember because you didn't do your research or you didn't watch it live.
What'd I tell you, Ant? What'd I tell you about that time me and Tomas fought? I was like, I guarantee you, me and Tomas fight. Everybody on at the time of the fight.
Everybody remembers that saw that fight. You got robbed in 20 years, 30 years when they Eddie Chambers lost to Tomas.
And look at the scorecards. Look at the scorecards. Same thing with Povetkin. Look at the scorecards. They're gonna forget. Damn, I won like the first 5.5 rounds, maybe 5-6 rounds. Who knows? Maybe it should have been a draw. They don't remember that shit. All they see is you lost. That's it. That's what I try to tell people.
The same thing with the steroids. Because if you were knocking everybody out because of steroids, nobody's going to remember that in 20 years.
Nope. They're going to forget all about it. Yep. And man, some of the people may not still be here. Some of them might not be involved in boxing no more. Some of them may not even care. You know what I mean? And so all the people who thought of it and saw it, there may be a few that may remember it. But most of the people won't even care. All they're going to look at is he beat him. Now, you can go ahead and do your research and find out, like, man, he ain't beat him. But that's...
How many people are really going to do their research?
Exactly. Unless you're a real historian, you ain't thinking about doing that. Not even a little bit. So it does cloud your situation for a while. And if, like, say, for example, you're looking at Big Baby, if he never fights again, then yeah, that's going to be a big thing on his resume.
Yeah, they're going to be like his career ended because he got popped.
Exactly. But if he goes back and ends up fighting again and all of a sudden his career just blossoms and goes here and go there, you know what I mean? And then people may forget about it. Like, oh, I don't remember that no more, man. Big Baby's the man. You know what I'm saying? But that's how it goes. You know what I'm saying? It's just like if you fought, you lost. I saw somebody just wrote. You see that?
You agree?
Hey, listen, look. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. I respect Vladimir as an all-time great, one of the best to ever do it. Whether he was doing that, he didn't get caught, so it's all hearsay. However, me fighting him with the advantages he had, if that was something he was doing, why? Did you really need to? Maybe he did. Maybe I was that dude. I don't know. But did he really need to? He already had all the physical advantages.
They're both doctors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These guys are both specimens. They're overseas where a lot of that stuff isn't even frowned upon. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all, man. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Just like I said, man, there's a lot of disappointment that's transpired for me in this sport. And if that's one of the things, you know, hey, ain't nothing I can do about it now. What we're going to do? Go back 11 years and try to change it? Not going to happen.
But look, you got knocked out in that fight. I hate to say that, but you did. That's just history, right?
It was my fault too. Not just, you know, it wasn't just by chance. That was my fault. I shouldn't have got caught with a shot. But I got lazy for 1 second, and that's what happens.
Well, that shows you how boxing works. There's no shame in it. So my thing is, you could have got really hurt. Thank God that you recovered, because we all saw that you were knocked out pretty bad.
Yeah.
The one and only time you've ever been knocked out, for the record. And if he was taking something, look at how damaging that could have been for the rest of your life for money that you already admitted you don't even have anymore. So The money the money you got paid 11 years ago, that money's long gone, right? Like, how long can that money last, especially if you're not making that money on a consistent basis? So the key is, how dangerous is it for human beings in this sport? Like, it is so, I mean, bad enough. You're already getting punched in the gym. You're already getting punched in the fights. You're fighting without headgear. Guys are punching you in the back of the head. You know, all types of stuff. Then you got to deal with guys cheating. It's just, it's really just disgusting and unfortunate.
It's like this, man. I fought a guy before Vladimir, Alexander Dmitrenko, about 6'8", 253 pounds, and could fight. He wasn't no bum. You know what I'm saying? Destroyed him. I feel like I controlled the fight from opening bell to the final bell. If he was on something, I didn't feel it. You know what I'm saying? But then you fast forward to the next fight. I'm fighting a guy that's an inch or so shorter, about like 9 pounds lighter, and he's just a mountain of a man, though. You understand what I'm saying, Paul? It's like he got muscles coming out of everywhere. Dmitrenko 253, 6'8", but lanky. You know what I'm saying? You look at Vladimir as a specimen. Like look at his. He's just like, man. When I stood next to him, I looked like bro, you in the wrong weight class. Like you, like are you a welterweight? Yo, this is the craziest thing. I got a quick little side story. I was coming down to a gym in Vegas, and Terence Lewis, a friend of mine, there's a former fighter, big time, one of the bigger names, heavyweights from some years back, and he's like, "Yo, let's go down to." And I was at John Ruiz's camp. He's like, "Let's go down to Johnny Taco's gym to watch San Peter." So we go down to watch San Peter spar Friday night, right? So I'm going to watch the sparring, and they getting back, and I'm thinking I'm supposed to see San Peter knocking this dude around the ring, but Friday was giving him some work. They're both African guys, right? So then afterwards, we talking to Sam, and yeah, he was talking like, "Oh, so hey man, yeah, you good, huh?" He's like, "I'm all right, you know, me being my humble self." "Yeah, what weight you fight at? Welterweight?" Like, what's this nigga? This nigga just said I was a welterweight. I'm his weight. So that lets you get a little bit of an insight on, if you look at me in regular clothes, I'm a regular sized dude. Like, I'm not one of these big giant guys. You know what I mean? I'm 6'1", you know what I mean? Generously, you know, on a tall day, I'm 6'1". I am. I'm not going to try to diminish it like the rest of these people be trying to do on me. But because anybody who's 6 foot stand next to me, I'm taller than them. So I'm 6'1", damn it. But anyway, and I'm, you know, at the best point in my career, I was 205 to 210 pounds. You stand me next to a legitimate heavyweight of this era, I look like I'm not even in the same weight class. Then you add PEDs on top of it, because I ain't taking enough. I ain't taking shit. What we doing? What we doing here? You understand what I'm saying? And I think that's how you have to look at it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, yeah, you're fighting in the same weight class. You're 147 and you're 147. One of y'all taking steroids and one of you are not. Yeah, maybe one of you rehydrates to 160, the other one 152. There's still an advantage there with the PEDs. Maybe not the same, but it's still an advantage. I think it just needs to, like, I think the moral value of the fighters got to step up a little bit too. Like, if you're thinking, man, I want an advantage, I don't give a damn what these people saying, I want to make that money. Look, I get that. But what about if you get in there and you see a situation like you see Patrick Day? You kill somebody. You know what I mean? That is like, come on, man. That's an unfortunate accident that doesn't happen all the time. Then there's other situations that were close to that time that the same thing happened. I'm not saying it's the PEDs, but why give it any more ammo than it already has? We don't need no more deaths in sports. So why is this allowed? It's not allowed, but is it? The testing, I don't know. Is it flawed? There's ways to beat it. Do we even need that shit? Or do we need to look at ourselves and say, man, I want to just be better than this guy? Man, fuck that. I ain't taking that shit. I want to be better than this guy. I'm better than him. I can beat him, man. If he want it, I don't give a shit. I'm going to beat him. That's how I looked at it. You know what I mean? There's a certain level of pride you got to have when you go in there. Man, I'm ready to die even to prove that this dude can't beat me, even if he's on some shit. You know what I'm saying? It's unfortunate that we got to deal with that, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like my boy. A big shout out to you, Bon Quick. Big shout out to you, man. Listen, what does DJ Khaled say? It's a cold world. Bundle up. You know, it's like that's really what it is right now in boxing. Like you have to like you get into boxing, like you're signing up for some dirty practices potentially, whether that be from the money situation to the fighters on PEDs, and that's why this is such a dangerous sport, because it's almost uncontrollable, because it's not governed by one organization. You have a lot of different areas, a lot of loopholes where people can go ahead and do dirty stuff, unfortunately.
Why do you think I don't want to put nobody or take no chances or take nobody to champ of the world? In my opinion, there's just so much dirt. I don't want to take. I got a 14-year-old kid that I work with. His name's Makai. I got another kid we work with. Both of us work with him. His name's Isaiah. I would legitimately want them to be successful, right? One of them's a heavyweight. This kid is 14 and 6'3". You know what I'm saying? He's about to be a monster for real, and he got a lot of athletic ability. Isaiah, we all know that. Me and Ann know Isaiah's going to be something special if he could really stick with it, if he wants to. But there's going to be a lot of disappointment, and there's a lot of dirt out here, and we got a lot, and there's just some things that we just can't control. So do we tell their parents, yeah, we know they're going to be successful and they're not going to get hurt? You can't say that. You can't say that. You never know if a nigga that they're going to fight is sorry, I didn't even say it like that, but you ain't know if a motherfucker they're going to fight is going to be on some stuff. We want to be clean. We want to do things the right way. Can you guarantee that the other guy's not going to be taking something? No, you can't. And that's part of the reason why, aside from people taking their money and doing them dirty and putting them in situations they shouldn't be in, I don't want to be a part of that. I really don't. I'm satisfied doing it for profit, helping people get in shape and love to look at themselves in the mirror and be healthy, happy, and be able to defend themselves. That's what I'm interested in right now. When I'm talking about training guys.
Yeah,
or girls.
Right, and I feel the same way to a degree. I love the sport of boxing, but there is some things that you do have to be concerned about.
Yeah,
and all you can do though is act with integrity and do the best you can. I mean, the issue is you start working with a guy, he starts to develop, he starts to get good. And then you say to yourself, man, I would like to see this kid test himself. Like, look at Isaiah. Isaiah started out like just a kid that I was working with. And next thing you know, I seen something in him. And then I brought you in to help me with him when I'm not around. And now look at him. Now the kid is very close to, competing and probably ready right now, to be honest.
Look.
And the thing is, I would hate to be the person to tell him boxing's a dirty game. Don't do it. I'm going to allow him to do what he wants to do, but at the same time, you just have to try your best to protect him. Luckily, guys like you and I are in this sport. We know good people. We're connected with some good people, and if we ever did decide to bring a guy up, they would be in good hands. But it would, it would take a lot of monitoring and paying attention, and really, it's not something where it's not like a fair fight, right? You have to be on point in this game. Boxing is very similar to, the streets. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't know that, but it is. It's like you got to be on point. You know what I mean? When you're dealing with
every turn,
and you got to be on point in boxing. You got to listen. You take a kid to the gym. You know how many times I've taken kids to Philadelphia, to some of the worst neighborhoods to box, and when you go in there, it's like, all right, we got to be on point. Like, Listen, I'm one of the most honorable dudes when it comes to sparring. I never overmatch my kids, none of that shit. I never overmatch your kid with my kid. If my kid's more experienced than your kid, we will work with that kid. We will not try to hurt that kid. I've had coaches come to me like, nope, we're not working with him. He's too experienced. I say, dude, we will control the pace. They don't trust me either. You know what I mean? I'm like, I have no track record for ever playing inhonorably. But since they're used to the streets, they're like, nope. We ain't taking that. So I'm like, okay, I gotta play the same game with you guys. And I go over there, who you got? Oh, that kid? Nah, we not boxing him. Oh, no. Nah, we're good. Because you can't trust. You gotta monitor it.
You gotta monitor it. You gotta be safe. Better safe than sorry in that. You know what I'm saying? And I agree with it 100%. It's like, if I know the guy, like, for example, we got Isaiah, we got Yuri. I got my man Yuri. I work with him. He's actually got fight experience. He's been a kickboxer. He's doing well. I got to put them in there. If I put them in there to spar, I can control that.
But that's your guys.
Exactly. But if it's
a different guy that we don't know that well, that's when you can't do it. Because egos are involved. Too many egos in boxing.
Yep. Way too many. It's the same thing when you look at all these organizations, and each organization got their own rules. You know what I'm saying? It's spread apart. If this was like basketball and you use the NBA, the NBA Players Association, that's different. That's a group of guys all going for the same goal. Boxing is different. We got four different organizations that are major. Then we got small ones that are trying to gain traction. Each one has different rules that you have to live by, that you got to fight by. You know what I'm saying? It's so spread apart. Then you got all these different trainers, different coaches, different camps, that their moral values point in different directions than others because they think about money. Some of them thinking about purpose. Some of them thinking about, like legacy and all of that. And all of these things play a part on what their goals are, what they want to do, whether they want to be fair, whether they want to get an advantage, whether they care. You understand what I'm saying? And I just feel like every person is accountable for their actions and what they do and how they hold up stuff. You know what I mean? So if that's the case, you was doing some wrong shit. You trying to get an advantage over another dude. Stop it. Just stop it. It's up to you.
It happens all the time. I know kids that, I knew a trainer that used to bring his kid to different cities, rack up a bunch of fights. Mm-hmm. This is amateur boxing. Mm-hmm. Come back, get rid of that book, start over, do it again. The freaking kid had like 50 amateur fights, and when he would go to some of these tournaments, he would say this is his second fight, or this was his first fight. So in a sense, that's like a form of taking steroids without taking steroids, because you are an experienced boxer beating up novices in these novice tournaments, and
what do you get out of that?
Really hurting. And what's the funny part? The kid actually lost in some of those novice tournaments.
You see that?
But the funny thing is, it's like, so this is happening at all. Cheating in boxing is happening at the youngest levels, 8-9-year-olds. You got parents saying, "Oh, he's never boxed before." The freaking kid got 75 amateur fights in a different state. He moves to Philly. Or he's from he's from Wyoming. He moves to Philly. Okay, yeah, his first fight. The freaking kid's been boxing, but he's 9. So they're kids. They're kids, but this kid has been boxing since he was 4. You know what I'm saying?
When you look at kids and stuff like that, the difference is experience. The difference is experience. They're not men yet. You understand what I'm saying? So they don't have the physical advantages of enough from one man to another. They're kids, so it's all experience. So if you got a kid that has 30, 40 fights, and you give a kid that has 2, that's worse than steroids. You about to get him punched around all day, because it's just the difference is too great. The only difference with that may say, okay, well, it may be an even playing field, is you have a kid that's been training since he was born. He just never had the opportunity to actually get fights, or you didn't want him to fight. until he was where you expected him to be. So he probably been boxing for 5 or 6 years, sparring everyone, but he's never actually competed. Then that's different. But it's only different in a situation like that. If you got a kid that legitimately only has two fights experience, you put him in there with a kid that has 40. Why would you want your kid with 40 fights to have a fight with a kid that's only had 2?
You don't even teach the kid. Yeah. You don't even teach the kid any valuable life lessons when you do that.
No. And you're not getting anything
like
out of it.
Thing where they're giving trophies out to the loser. Like, don't get me wrong. I want everybody to feel valuable. But if you get a trophy when you lose, then why am I working so hard to win?
Exactly.
I get a trophy anyway.
Exactly.
So what's the difference? You know, as a kid, you know, the trophy means a lot. So, you know, you got a room full of trophies, but you lost every fight you ever had.
This is the thing. You give a trophy to the winner and you give a ribbon to the loser. How about that? Because you got to let them know there's levels. Your level wasn't high enough to get that trophy or that belt or that medal. So you got a ribbon. You participated.
Within reason, because kids get robbed too.
Yeah, of course. That can happen. You know what I mean? Maybe if it's like, you know, honorable mention type shit, like where you're supposed to have, he should have got a medal too because we thought he won or it was that close. Yeah. But you're still first loser. You lost. You understand what I'm saying? You didn't win. You got to hear those character building words. You lost. Get better. Because if you never lose, when are you going to get better? You got beat up, but you still won? Nah. You ain't win. You lost. Get your ass in the gym and work harder. That's what my dad would tell me. My dad wasn't pulling no punches. My dad was like, yo, it was X-rated. Not X-rated. It was really R-rated listening to what my dad was saying. Like to me in the corner, at home. Man, I had many nights I was crying like, oh man, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? I'm sparring this southpaw, Timmy Williamson, man. He actually even ended up being a real good pro, but he just, you know, he didn't get a title or anything, I don't think. But he taught me how to fight southpaws. He would beat my ass every day. Now he was 26, I was 7th, 5th, 16. But my dad had me sparring him like, you gonna get with him. You gonna get with him. And he wasn't calm and nice about it. He was like, nah, every time you get your ass whooped, I'm gonna make you go and spar him harder the next day. You gotta know that you losing in order to improve. I would have never gotten to this point if I didn't have that kind of stuff in me. Never. Right. I would have never been fighting for no Vladimir Klitschko for the heavyweight championship of the world. Not at all. If I didn't have that. So I got to thank him for it. And that's what the rest of these dudes need. They need that. Everybody's trying to be too soft nowadays. Damn that soft shit. You know what I mean? You got to make them work. That's the only way you're going to get better. Like when I go to the gym and I'm trying to play ball, I love playing ball, right? I get a couple guys or pro guys. I'm like, yo, kick my ass, yo. Make me work. Don't give me nothing. Make me work just as hard as I've ever had to work in the ring. Because then I know I'll get better. When they do that to me and I can figure it out and I can get past it, I can score on them, I can do what I want, then I know that I'm improving. It's the same thing with boxing. When them dudes was kicking my ass when I was young, it sucked. But guess what? I improved. And then I start kicking their ass. And then I start kicking everyone's ass, everywhere. I was running the world at one point, I felt like. I was so close. You understand? So the only way you're going to get there, being a meek, nice guy like myself, is by having that happen. You can't coddle these kids too much. You can't.
It's a tough sport, man. It's a tough sport, man, and it's only the strong survive, man. And I think that's something that a lot of people have to come to realization with if that's what they want to do. If you want to actually get in this game and actually get to the level that you've gotten, or even compete at any level, you got to be willing to take some L's, whether that be in the gym, whether that be in competition, whether that be in your ego, whatever the case may be. You're gonna take some L's at some point or another. You're gonna question yourself at some point or another, and it all depends on how bad you want it. It's really the same as life, right? You know, anything you do in life, you're gonna take L's, and boxing is no different. You know, if you start a business and it doesn't do well like you thought it was going to do, it's up to you if you want to keep the business open, if you want to keep the doors open, if you're willing to invest more into it and keep it going, or else you're just going to have to close the doors, you know what I'm saying, and give up. So boxing is no different than any of that, you know, except you're getting punched. So that's what makes it a little bit different. But the emotional standpoint is the same. Eddie, man, I know it's late. You've been up since 5 a.m. It's 11:40. I appreciate you taking over an hour, you know, to come chop it up with us. We need to do this more often. I say that every single time. I do Q&As a lot too. A lot of people come on here to do Q&As, and I'm sure that people would love to pick your brain as a fighter and somebody who's been in boxing as a professional for 20 years. And people who have access to me, you know, have access to you too. So I love to share that. You know, some of our conversations on the telephone that we have, I say, damn, Eddie, we should have went live.
With that.
You know, we should have went live. You know what I mean? And I know you love sharing what you've done in the game and you love helping people. So everybody, man, make sure you guys always tune in when Eddie's here, because Eddie's somebody who obviously, just look him up, Google him, you know what I'm saying? And I've been fortunate to be with Eddie now for quite many years now. So, you know, we shared a lot of stories, man. And some of this stuff you guys need to listen to. Moral of the story, no cheating in boxing. All right. And if you guys just tuned in late and you want to know about what we thought about the Errol Spence Crawford, make sure you guys go back. We talked about Errol Spence and Crawford, and we talked about Evander Holyfield and Belfort. A lot of you guys who might have came in late, I seen some people asking, what do we think on that? Go ahead. Sean Portal. Damn, why do I keep saying Errol, man? I did that like 3 times.
You want that fight. You want that fight like the rest of them.
Yeah, so if you guys missed that, if you guys are just coming in right now, you guys can go back and look at that. Please share the channel, man. I need these lives to pick up. We need more people to, you know, so we can keep sharing. And don't forget to go to the website, guys. Use the CA Powwow. Pick up a course. Most of my courses got Eddie on it. So if you want to see, you know, Eddie and I teach boxing and you don't have a course, right now it's 60% off. Just for you guys being part of this. That's just the sale. That's just the sale for people who tuned into this, Eddie. That's not a sale that I keep going. That's just if you watch this particular live, I like to do a CA Power Hour, even though it's more than an hour, just to show love back for people supporting us. You know what I'm saying? People like to do super chats and stuff, but I actually like to give you more. So I'd rather you buy a course than do a super chat, because at least the course, you got that. You can watch that, and they can learn from both of us. So, guys, if you want to support, you can do it that way. And you guys already know, man, thank you for tuning in. Eddie, man, I appreciate your time, my brother.
Not a problem, bro.
Everybody wants to know how to box a southpaw. Everybody who's a southpaw wants to learn how to box the opposite stance. We're going to get into it. We're going to give away all the secrets. We're going to teach you so many great things, man. And luckily, we got a guy right here who can box both stands, orthodox and southpaw, and fast in the chambers. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to learn a lot. You guys make a very wise decision, so let's not waste no time. Let's get right into it. Before I log out, man, every time I see that little commercial, I be like, yo, my boy Eddie sharp. Boy, you are sharp son of a gun.
Yo, I was looking at that shit too, like, damn, I hope I can still punch like that.
You showed out in that southpaw course. I'm not even gonna lie. Like,
I gotta see that shit.
If somebody never seen you box, they would say you was a southpaw full time. Like, you freaking, you really showed out on that course, man. And then really, my favorite course that I did with you was that one. How to create angles was fantastic. That one was a beast. And how to set traps and counter punch was.
That was the one. I think I was skinny. How to set traps
man, it's really a toss up because, bro, like, you look great on all three of them, man. You did your thing on that, man. Real.
That's what I like. That's what I want. I just hope I could keep doing that for like the next.
Now, listen, we're going to do another one. I'm actually for the record, guys. I'm actually doing another course that I did by myself. It's just a basic one. It's build you from the ground up 1.0. I'm actually working on that right now, getting it on the website. And me and you are going to do a few, man. We already talked about this behind the scenes. So I want to get a few done within a very short period of time, Eddie. So be ready to start recording because I got some great stuff lined up. All I need you to do is be Eddie.
All right. And I'm down. You already know. I could definitely be that, at least.
All right, everybody. Thank you for the love and support. We out of here.